No Ray Parker there. Fall Out Boy and Missy Elliott performing the theme for the new Ghostbusters film. It hit theaters this weekend. Many people are still talking about the gender of the cast rather than the merits of the film. Co-stars Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig responded to backlash over the all-female cast earlier this month, speaking to the BBC Breakfast host Charlie State.
The first time I talked to Paul about it, he had just said that he was trying to think of a new way to do it, and what was so incredible about the original was that the chemistry between those four. It wasn't so much male or female or anything. He just thought of who would be the best combination.
I have to say, when it was announced that 4 women were going to be in this movie, I realized we haven't come as far as I thought we had because so many people had to comment about it. So I think we take some steps and then we go back and we think it's better, and then people act like all the volcanoes in the world erupted at the same time when this movie was announced, and it's disheartening. It's weird.
The release of the trailer in May motivated people to take to social media both in support of the remake of the 1980s supernatural comedy and to downvote the movie trailer for ruining a cult classic. Ottawa film critic Di Golding has written about film and gender issues for DearCastandCrew.com. She's with me now in studio. Hello there.
Hi, Alan.
All right, you saw this movie.
I did.
Over the weekend.
I did indeed.
Were expectations high for you? I mean, were you walking in there?
No, and I'll tell you why. I'm not a Kirsten, I can't even say her name, Wiig fan.
Wiig, yes. You're not?
Not really. She doesn't do it for me. So even when they announced the cast, I was like, meh. Love Kate McKinnon, though. Yeah. She should be in everything. She is amazing. So that was kind of tempered by that. So I wasn't... It's very hard to be objective as a film critic and as a Ghostbusters fan and as a woman going into this. It's like you're being pulled in all...
You got a lot of conflicting...
Yeah, there's a lot of directions you can go with that. So I just kind of went in and just cleared my mind and just sat there and watched the movie, and I did enjoy it.
So what did you think?
It was a slow build. It grabbed me, and then I strangely got emotional in the action scenes when I saw Melissa McCarthy, a woman over 40, who doesn't look like a supermodel. She's not wearing spandex and high heels, and she's kicking ghost butt, you know? And it was that moment where I realized for a 10-year-old girl watching that film to see that represented is such a huge, huge thing. And I kind of got a little verklempt going, you know, this is something we don't see very often. And optics are really important in this sense, even more so than maybe what people are saying about the film itself. But in that moment, that's when I realized that it's kind of bigger than all the criticism we're hearing about it.
Because if I'm thinking back to perhaps when you were 10, when I was 10, not a lot of that on the screen.
No. I think I had the Bionic Woman. I had Jamie Summers to look up to.
Yeah. Linda Carter.
Yeah, but again, she's got a 12-inch waist,
right? And
she's, you know, drop dead gorgeous. So for just average looking and average young girls, what do you have to look up to? And so now it's like, it's not about wearing a bustier. It's not about, you know, being under 25 and looking like a supermodel. It's you can still be out there doing these things and be accepted for doing your job well. It's sad that that's revelatory, but it is.
I mean, it's funny that you're saying that because when a film that I actually completely loved was Spy with Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
And it was very funny. There was a lot of action, and they didn't make a huge deal about the fact that she was this it was this action element to it, right? That she was did not look like your standard sort of supermodel spy in it as well. But at the time, I think probably that film also wasn't attached to people's memories and nostalgia, right?
No,
so it didn't have that against it. People weren't saying, "Oh, she's remaking something," so nobody was upset.
Yeah, the whole ruining my childhood argument that comes up.
What do you make of that? Because you've been following the hype and the backlash for the new movie since the trailer came out. Where did it start?
Well, there was a guy that put out this thing. I mean, the trailer came out, and to be honest, the trailer was not very good. And even Melissa McCarthy herself went out after and said, I begged them not to put the trailer out like this. It was incomprehensible. And but this guy went online named Angry Video Game Nerd, which just tells you everything, and went on the 6-minute rant about how he wasn't going to review the film. And, you know, he was kind of bouncing around the gender issue, saying that wasn't it, but it really was kind of a soft sexism. And his main concern was they shouldn't call it Ghostbusters because it's not really Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters, and his quote was, "It's a shameless attempt to get fans to see it based on name alone." And I'm thinking, isn't that every movie that's come out in the last 20 years? You know, did you go on and rant about Total Recall or Planet of the Apes or Star Wars or Batman? You know, that's what Hollywood does. You know, they have a built-in brand name recognition. They have an audience already. That's the way Hollywood works. So he got all kinds of upvotes. He millions and millions of views of this, and people started rallying behind it. And then the whole Twitter thing took off, and people just started getting really angry. And Paul Feig himself and all of the stars were getting all of these horrible, you know, they were targets. They were getting abused online for how dare they, you know, make a movie with 4 women where 4 guys. It's supposed to be 4 dudes.
I mean, in fairness, though, did any of I mean, I know you're saying it was dancing around it, and there's part of it where people are also just fed up of remakes and reboots. Right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It could just be the straw that broke, so to speak. As opposed,
sure, I'm not immune to that either. I completely understand. Completely understand that reasoning.
But were there statements that actually said, "I don't want women in these parts"? Because all I ever saw was, "Oh, I can't believe they did this to my movie."
Right. I
never actually saw one that was as blatant as that.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the thing. If you go down that, you know, glorified bathroom wall that is the internet comment section of any YouTube video or any video anywhere, it just degenerates into you know, mouth-breathing troglodytic idiots just making these blanket statements. And so, you know, on the surface of it, no, but it kind of provided, it's almost like a Trump thing. It provided an entry point. You know, for people to come out and say all these horrible things that they'd been thinking. And I mean, I think the context was, had Seth Rogen and James Franco and their gang decided that they were going to do a remake, sure, people might have been up in arms initially. Would it have gotten the level of vitriol? Who's to say, but I sincerely doubt it. And there was a quote from a woman who writes for the Daily Beast. Her name is Jen Nimato, and I think it sums it up perfectly. She said, "It's childish to demand that a movie be remade exactly for one type of fan to specifications that acknowledge and validate his or her own fandom." Like, you're never going to make everyone happy.
What was your experience when you took to Twitter to talk about this remake? People weren't kind.
Well, I got a drive-by trolling. Let's say it was pretty. It wasn't too bad, but my tweet was, if your childhood was so fragile that it can be ruined by a remade movie, then I weep for your adulthood. #Ghostbusters.
Right.
And then this guy came on and made a comment about his genitalia, as one does. And you know, I went, well, you know, these guys, it's like they close the Fedora factory at night and they churn these guys out. You know, it's just, they have under 20 followers, you know, their avatar is them giving the, you know, duck face. It's so no grammar. And he had gone and just trolled every woman that had hashtagged Ghostbusters last week prior. And at first I was upset because I thought, I wish I had that time and energy to put into my day of just, you know, hate trolling. But then I thought, you know, if your life is, you know, if you have all this time, I only have to deal with you for a couple of minutes looking at my Twitter feed and thinking, oh, what an idiot. But you have to be you. So I'm clearly the winner in this scenario. You know, it's not really that bad.
Did you get support though? Or not even you, but I mean, have people who've spoken up for the messages in this movie, even beyond is it any good element, but the people who are saying this is why it's okay to do this, have people also come forward to support those people?
I think, again, if you go and you read any of these reviews, and there are a lot of them saying this is ridiculous, and a lot of it points back to the bigger issue, which is women represented fairly in film to begin with, in front of and behind the camera. I mean, it's an issue. It's a big issue.
Sure.
Women don't even make up 25% of directing and exec producing and roles behind the camera. So, I mean, that's something that has to be addressed to begin with. But in front of the camera, women make up a third compared to men, and usually they're eye candy. Usually they're an accessory to men, and I think in that sense, being able to start the Ghostbusters talk and bring it out and look at what really the issue is. And I mean, Gina Davis, of course, the Gina Davis of Thelma and Louise and A League of Their Own, started the Gina Davis Institute on Gender and Media several years ago, and the tagline is, "If you can see it, you can be it." And so she's all about having women in film and television being represented in STEM fields and leadership roles, because if young girls and boys see this, then it normalizes that for them, and they get to see women in roles that are not just, eye candy.
It's interesting to compare it to what's going on in comics now too, right? Where they're trying switching some of the roles, and Iron Man is now this black woman, and this led to a whole conversation about, has a black woman ever written for Marvel Comics? Have we ever, are the behind the scenes elements there to support what we want to see happening on screen too? So are you recommending it to people? Are you saying to people, go see Ghostbusters?
Absolutely, especially the people that hate it. And that's what's so funny is a lot of the negative reviews that are on IMDb are, I watched it and I hated it. Well, yeah, but you still watched it. So they still made $46 million and they're already talking about a sequel. So haters going to hate, but you just made them more money.
Right.
So it's just kind of this ridiculous, it's like it's eating its own tail. So you guys go ahead and hate it. So long as you spend the $13.50 on your 3D ticket, then they're going to make another one.
Now,
but yes, go see it.
I know they put Chris Hemsworth in the Annie Potts role. Did they put somebody in the Sigourney Weaver role?
No, there was no love interest. Really.
Isn't that interesting?
It was refreshing, and it passed the Bechdel test, which is flawed anyway, but that's a topic for another day.
All right. Di, thank you.
You're
as
welcome.
Always.
Thank you, Alan.
Di Golding, film critic for DeerCastingCrew.com and Ottawa Magazine contributor. If you've seen it, if you're not going to see it, we'd love to hear from you all in a day at cbc.ca, or you can tweet us to CBC All in a Day.